There are many reasons why you might want to create a calendar layout on a single sheet. And if you want to know how to do it, you're in exactly the right place. And that's here in the Work Smarter Not Harder dojo with me, Tony Harmer, aka the Design Ninja. Okay, so this begins, of course, with a new document. So Command N or Control N to get to that. And what I'm going to do for mine is I'm going to use an A3 document here in landscape. Now, as with all of these tutorials, of course, your own page size and all measurements may vary, and that's just fine. It's the concept, of course, that is much more important. I'm going to add 6 columns here on mine, so I'm just going to click in that field there and use my up arrow key to increment that to 6. And I'm going to open up my margins, and for mine, I'm working in millimeters here. I'm just going to put 6 millimeters around all 4 sides. Now, it is quite common, by the way, to have a larger top margin for things that are going to have a hole punched in them, but this one won't. So it will just be 6 all the way around. And that's it. The document is now created, but we need some guides to separate this up. Now, this is going to be cut, okay, laterally through the middle here, or folded. It might be a folded design, you never know. Okay, so I need a guide to show that. So I'm going to bring that down from the rulers, like so. And if you're not seeing rulers, Command R or Control R to see those. And it should snap. There you go. You might have just seen that. It's snapped to the middle of the document, which on an A3 document is 148.5 in this dimension. And now I need 2 more guides, one either side of that, okay, that will effectively become like margins. So I'm going to drag down another guide, but drop it immediately on top of the one that I drew just a moment ago. I'll then go to the control strip, and what I'm going to do here is tap +6, which will add 6 millimeters onto that. And you can see the guide moves like so. And I'll repeat that again, just drag one down like so. And if you're thinking, I wonder if it's -6 this time, it is. So well done, extra points, give yourself 5 minutes off. There you go. So now we've got all of the guides we need there. Next, I'm going to need an idea of the size of the image that's coming in here. So I'm actually going to place it. Okay, so Command D or Control D for the place command. This is the file I'm going to use. It's an Illustrator file and it has multiple artboards. So I'm going to make sure that Show Import Options is selected. And then I'll tap Open like so. Previewed page is just fine for this, so I'll hit OK and then bring that out, take it up to the top left-hand corner of the margins there, and then click and drag across like so, and then get it so it's perfectly on the edge of that. It is. So now I release at that point, and I know how big the image is going to be. So what I'm then going to do is click on the content grabber in the middle there, okay, and simply hit delete, because I don't actually want the content at the moment. Then with my selection tool, I'm going to select that frame, hold down Alt or Option, okay, and then click and drag across. Now, as soon as I've started dragging, I can actually release the Alt or Option key, but I'm going to take this over to the side here, and then without releasing, I'm going to tap the right arrow key 1, 2, 3, 4 times for each column, and then up for an additional row. At that point, I can release, and now all of the image frames that I need are ready to go. Okay, so at this point, probably a good idea to save. So I'm just going to save mine here into this folder. I'll just call this SP for single page calendar, like so. And now we know that's all saved, so we don't have to do all of that work over again. Now we've got to add a couple of text frames here, one for the month, okay, and one for the table that will become the calendar. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my type tool, okay, and I'm going to zoom in here to make it easier to see. I'm going to go to this area just here and drag a frame like so, across to either side. Then hit escape to start off with. Okay, and resize this frame like so. Excellent. Right, then I'm going to go to the outflow port for this frame and click on it to load the cursor with the contents of the frame, which of course is nothing just at the moment. But then holding down the Alt key, okay, I can click and drag like so, okay, to the same height and do that all the way across the document. Okay, so I've just got to this point here. I'm just going to move over like so. I'm using a trackpad, so it's really easy. I can just swipe with 2 fingers. Alt key down. Don't forget that bit because otherwise it unloads the cursor. Not that it's a big deal really, because what you can do, of course, is just reload it from the last used frame. And those smart guides there really helping, especially when I just accidentally zoomed out like so, like massively. Okay, so Option key down or Alt key, just going to drag across like that. So helpful. Those guides are showing me that everything's the same size. And you can't really copy drag these unless you want to link them manually afterwards, because they need to actually be linked for the next part, unless you're planning on manually typing, in which case that works just fine. So Option key down and drag. Now I should get a guide that indicates to me when it's the same size as the other content. If I don't, I can just undo that. Okay. Then I can come back up to this point here, hold down the Option key and drag until the guides kick in, which they should be doing around about now. Okay. Of course, the minute you're doing something in front of people, that's when it's going to go wrong. Okay. So I'm just going to hit escape just there. Okay. And delete this one. All right, good. So what I'll do instead then is I will actually manually link this thing up, which happens sometimes. All right, so I'm going to copy that over here, then just paste that down in the bottom. Okay, like so. And I'll go ahead here, just go to the outflow port, clicking that one. Linking is resumed. Okay, then again with the Option key down, I can just drag across and the guides will kick in just there. That one's a little bit long, so I can come back and fix that in just a second. Okay, but nice and easy. Let's speed this part up so I've got this all done, and I'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, so there we are. They are all done. Nice. Now we're going to need the frame for the calendar, but first I think what I'll do is show you why I threaded those things together. It's because in a separate file just here, I have all of my months. You'll see I've also got all of my days of the week in various different formats, but these are all separated by a return. So I'm going to copy those like so. Okay, then come back into this document, double click in this text frame and paste. Now that's just fine the way that's working out at the moment, but it will change in a second. So I'm going to select everything there. And I think what I'll do is, rather than using a style, is I'll just format these locally. So I'm just going to go up to about 14 points. Just there, I'm going to change the paragraph alignment to center. Okay, that works pretty well for me just there. Now my default font here is Avenir, and I'm going to leave it at that. I might just change the weight there to perhaps something else. In fact, if I go for Avenir next, just here, then I can get to the demis and all of that stuff. Let me just scroll down to that. Avenir next. And then I'll choose demi bold just there. But of course, that's a creative choice, okay, rather than an actual essential part of this tutorial. Now, with all of those frames selected, okay, or hopefully they're all selected, okay, let me just find out if I just use the up arrow key and the down arrow key. There you go. Happy days. I can use Command B to access the text frame options. And I'm just going to choose the vertical justification to center, like so. There you are. All of the months have enough space between the calendar, okay, and the image at the top. And while we're at it, we might as well, before we get on with the next part, add those in. So Command D, okay, to bring those things in. Remember to show the import options. I'm going to bring in all of the pages. There are 12, suspicious. Okay, and then I'm just going to make my way through and click inside each of these frames. Okay, until we get all the way across there, like so. Now I'm kind of hoping I've got the month order correct with these things. There is actually a rhyme and a reason to it, but I don't think I have. But there you are. It's fine just for the minute. For the purposes of this, excellent. Okay, there we go. So that's starting to look nice and bright. Now let's start to work on the detail-y part just here. Let's get a text frame. We only need the one this time. Let's go ahead and drag something out like so. So it meets what is effectively our fake margin at the bottom here. Hold down the Command key or Control on Windows, which allows you temporary access to the selection tool. And we can then drag the top of that frame up until it meets the edge of the frame above. And of course, if you needed to, you could adjust all of this afterwards. Then we're going to add in a table. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and insert a table. Okay, this is going to have 6 body rows. Okay, because some months do go over 6 weeks. If they start at the end, okay, then they're 4 in the middle and then have a couple on the end. 6 is a good idea. We're going to have 7 columns for the days of the week and 1 header row, which will contain the days of the week. Let's go ahead and add that. Now, at the moment, okay, you can only see 4 of those. That's because they're all using the default size. So I'm just going to drag across a couple and then do Command A, Control A, of course, on Windows. And I'm going to set my options here in the control strip, okay, to exactly, because that way I can control them, okay, and then start to put in some measurements. I'm going to go with 5.5 because I actually think that is what it fits at. Not bad. Okay, I'm going to change that just a little bit. Let's change that to 5.75. Just there. Oh, it's too much, too much. There you go, 5.7. No! And of course, we can mess around with that. I do actually want to get this bit kind of right though. So let's go 5.6. Just there like so. And I think that's fine just the way it is. Then we need to work on our actual header row just here. We've got some information we need to put in there. So the days of the week. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this in from here. I've got this in various different formats. I think I'm just going to have these. They're all separated by a tab. Okay. So I'm going to copy that out. Go back to InDesign. Go into this first header frame just here. Okay. And then paste. Whoops-a-daisy. Now, the reason that's gone like that is because it's overfilled. Let me just undo that and try this again just here. Let me select the row and paste. Now, they've all overfilled. All of the content is there, but of course it's too big, which is kind of expected, really, just here. So let me go ahead and style these up. I'm going to use Avenir next again just here. Okay. For the style. This is where having an actual style would have been a good idea. And I'm going to make these bold. Okay, then I'm going to just bring the size down until they fit in the frame. There we go, perfect. I'm going to center align those, and I'm actually going to center them vertically in the frame as well. Okay, so that bit is done. Now let's go to one of the first frames here. Okay, now if I just type a T in there, now of course, that's going to be too big as well. So let's go ahead and select all of those body rows and then change this. So these can be maybe slightly lighter. Medium is really good. Just there, and we'll bring the size down. Okay, just like that. That's pretty good, 7 points. And if that would go to 8. I bet it would if I change the actual cell padding here. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring the cell padding down. There we go, to 1 millimeter. That's just fine. Although, to be honest, I could probably get away, okay, with going to even more than that. If I go to 0.5 of a millimeter around the edge there, that's pretty good. So that's what it is there. I'm going to center the content in the cell. Okay, like so. Now, I think I might be able to get that up to 9 or even 10. There we go, 10 points just there. Perfect. And that sets that for all of those frames. Now, it would be a good idea to now select that, okay, the T just there, and get to work properly with creating a paragraph style. Now my control strip at the moment, okay, is focused mainly on characters. So Command Option, Control Alt 7 swaps you out between the various different options there. And I'm going to add a new paragraph style. Now, if you're using the properties inspector on newer versions of InDesign, you'll actually see the properties in this region around about here where my mouse is wildly moving around at the moment has the option to create paragraph styles there. And that's a good idea to do that. I'm going to call this one dates like so. Okay. Never base anything, okay, on the basic paragraph style. That's like a #1 school person error. That is. The reason being, if your document goes to somebody else and their basic paragraph definition is different to yours, it will throw everything out. So always base something on no paragraph style and build out from there. So this is going to be pretty simple, really. It's taking on the characteristics of the font information that was already present inside of there. That's all good where it is. Okay, we're then going to come down here to bullets and numbering. Okay, we're going to change the list type to numbers, like so. Format, is all good just there. We just need to edit something here inside the number field. So these codes, like this little caret T, that's a code for a tab. Okay, so we can delete that. We can also delete the period next to it. Okay, and what's left, this is a short code for a number. Okay, so it will increment a number in that field. Great stuff. Now that's just fine the way it is. So we can say OK. Then we'll go back here. Okay, and make sure that style is applied. So let's just choose dates there. And you'll see immediately that changes to 1T. So do you know what? I'm going to replace the T with a space. So now we've got our number in place just there. Excellent. Now, if you wanted to, you could mess around with the paragraph alignment, okay, to get that where you want it to be. But to be honest, that is something you could fix really quickly later on, as I'm going to show you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold down the Command key and then hit the slash key, Control slash on Windows. That selects that cell. Okay, I'm going to copy it. I'm just going to go ahead and just drag across a few here and then paste just to make sure that's all working. Excellent. That's working really well. So I'll select that row and clear it. I then need to add some table rows. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and go to the table menu at the top level system. I'm going to go down here and choose Insert, Rows. Okay, and I'm going to add a number of rows. Now, it doesn't matter if you've got more rows. Yeah, it doesn't really matter if you've got less rows. It's just easier at this point to have more rather than less. So I'm actually going to add 56 rows here. Now, I know that's more than the number of weeks, but like I said, having more is easier to deal with than having less. I'm going to hit OK. All right, and now all of those rows have been added. I'm going to go up to the table menu, okay, come down to the select menu there and choose body rows, like so. So all of the body rows are selected. On my clipboard, I've still got the information of just having a space in the cell and that cell using my dates paragraph style. So now I can just paste and hey presto, we can see some numbers here. Let's go back to the selection tool. Okay, over on the side, we'll actually click on it. Okay, because tables get a bit funny about using escape, and there is another way out, but we'll just at the minute click for the selection tool. Then we'll go to the outflow port just here. Okay, and you can see that our content is ready. Now I've just thought of something else actually, so I'm going to hit escape just to purge that. We need to just test at this point whether or not our layout actually works. I'm going to select, okay, everything, okay, up to the Saturday marker just there and delete. So that would become the first. Now looking down here, okay, you can see that something's not right, because if this was January, it would have 31 days. So I need an extra row for that. Okay, so what I should have done really was added 7 rows just here. Now let's just check and see if we've actually got that just there, because if we have, we can work with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to select all of this row just here, and then I'm going to manually squidge that up like that. So I've gone now, so that's about 7 millimeters high. In fact, it's exactly 7 millimeters high. And then I'll go to this row here and change that. Okay, so I'm clicking in that field, just using down arrow just here to change all of those. Now we can test and adjust at the top here. And it's just to show you that this sort of thing really, really does happen, right? That sometimes, doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, it's easy to get it wrong. So I'm going to go down and add in my additional row just here. Now, does it really matter that it's overrunning that guide? Let's pretend it actually does. So how do we fix it? Because, okay, if we go and select all of our body rows again, this is where we have to remember we've got content that we can't see. Okay, and now we change the size of that. So let's bring that down so it does actually work. Let's change that, I think, to about 5.4 millimeters, I think will work just there. So I'm typing that in the field at the top. Perfect. That works. Now, actually, the characters inside, they still all look grand, so we don't have to change anything. But if we did, all we'd need to do is go to the style, change the style, okay, and we're all set. So now that works, okay, we can click on the plus on the right-hand side there because there's more content than it can actually contain. Remember, keep the Option key held down. You go to the start point just there and click and drag across. Okay, next point just here, click and drag across like so. Okay, now quite why that's not adding in the extra row there, not entirely sure, because it should have changed all of them. But even now, it's not too late for things to change there. Okay, so sorry about the zooming just there. Let me come out. Just come across here. Okay, my Option key is still down. I'll just drag all of those like that. Great stuff. Now I'm just going to accelerate this bit just here because you don't have to watch me talking about this particular bit while I do fixes. Okay, and then you can catch me in just a second. Okay, they're all in. I'm going to hit escape to purge any other contents from there. Everything should be just fine. There is some overspill actually. So let's just drop that over here where it can't do any harm at all. We can always delete it later on. So let's go and have a look at the problem here. I think if we zoom in just here, they do look about right. We're still going to have to adjust these months just there. They're not exactly in the right place, but we could always nudge those around later on. We'll just work on fixing this part here. So let's double click into one of these cells. Okay, we'll go ahead and select all of the body rows. Okay, so let's do that again. And let's just see what the measurements say. Now the measurements say, okay, that 5.4 millimeters is working. Now that's really curious because they should all be fitting like so. However, I now realize my mistake in that you can see that the frame there is overspilling the contents. So what I would have to do, okay, is select that range just there, like so, and then bring that down so it's in the same height as the other frame. And if we go ahead and do that just here as well, in fact, some of those are already shorter than that one. So these ones here, they can just overspill just a little bit. Okay, it doesn't really harm because there's not enough for a new row to start there. So they can pretty much go how they like. And that's how these things sometimes work. Now, at the moment, you might be thinking, haha, December has disappeared from there. Well, it has, but that will change. Now, we're going to stick with pretending that January the 1st, okay, is on a Sunday there like so. So let's double click now into here. And what we can do is clear everything from those cells. So just highlight them, clear. And we now know that the 1st of February is on a Wednesday. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the two things in the next month before the February, then click in the 32nd of February just there, right click, and choose restart numbering, and the numbering starts again. So we can go ahead there, clear that row like so, okay, and clear this row. We now know that March also starts on a Wednesday. Curious that. Okay, it's not really. Okay, and restart the numbering, and then you would work your way around like so. The final thing we need to do here is to pretty that up a little bit, okay? And the way to do that, I think, would be to select all of our table cells. So in any cell that you're clicked in, okay, Command A or Control A should work to select that. Or if it's not, just remember Command / Control / to select a cell, and then Command A, which tells InDesign that it actually needs to go ahead and select all of those things, because there's a sort of a hierarchy here. We'll then go up to the borders here. Now I've got the outside borders already selected, but I'm going to select the intersecting borders just there, and then just change the stroke there to none, because we don't actually need the boxes around it. It looks so much prettier, yeah, when it's sat there like so. And of course, once we've got all of the months in order, we can nudge those into place. All right. When we've got the frame here on the side empty or any overspill inside of it deleted, then it's pretty much good to go. No overset text. And of course, thinking about it, one final thing that I've been asked about is actually converting the numbers. Now that's easily done. To do that, simply go into any editing just there. Okay, select all of those things. So remember the cell and then Command A. You can then right click. Okay, and if you want to, you can convert numbering to text. So that then detaches from that actual style there. They all then become isolated numbers like so. And there you go. That's it from the Work Smarter Not Harder dojo for this time. See ya.